After mentioning my son's cancer, my manager started showing up at the children's hospital to catch me in my lie. I casually mentioned my 8-year-old's leukemia treatment when explaining why I needed to leave early for his chemo appointment, and Janet's face immediately shifted into this skeptical expression. She started asking invasive questions about which oncologist we saw, what type of cancer exactly, how long he'd been sick, whether I had pictures of him in the hospital. I grabbed my keys and told her I preferred keeping work and personal separate, watching her eyes narrow as she pulled out her phone with this determined look that made my stomach drop. She said something about how convenient it was that I always had appointments on busy days. Within a week, she'd somehow convinced herself I was running an elaborate scam. She cornered me by the coffee machine saying she'd done research and my story had inconsistencies. Like, how could my son have energy to play soccer if he was supposedly getting chemo? And why hadn't I posted any hospital photos on social media like other cancer parents? She started timing my hospital visits with a spreadsheet, asking other parents in the parking lot if they'd seen me, even befriending the receptionist to ask about my appointments, and requesting to see visitor logs. When I walked into the pediatric oncology waiting room and saw Janet sitting there pretending to read a magazine, wearing sunglasses indoors like some discount detective, I nearly dropped my son's overnight bag. She followed us to 3 different appointments, taking photos of me in the waiting room and timing how long we stayed, building this conspiracy theory that I was faking my child's cancer for sympathy and flexible work hours. She told our director she was concerned about my integrity, showing screenshots of me smiling in photos with my son as proof that no parent of a cancer patient would ever look happy, and pointing out that his hair looked too thick for someone on chemotherapy. The breaking point came when she approached other families in the treatment center, asking if they knew me and whether they thought my son looked sick enough, telling them she was conducting research on medical fraud. The head nurse finally asked security to escort Janet out after she tried to access my son's medical records by claiming to be his aunt doing insurance verification. That's when I learned she'd been telling hospital staff that she suspected medical fraud and child endangerment, convinced that I was subjecting a healthy kid to unnecessary procedures for attention. She'd even called Child Protective Services, reporting that I might have Munchausen by proxy, forcing them to open an investigation that required my son to undergo additional psychological evaluation during his treatment. She submitted a detailed report with photos of my son playing at the park, claiming healthy children don't have energy during cancer treatment. The CPS caseworker closed the investigation within days after speaking to our medical team and reviewing 2 years of medical records, but Janet doubled down, claiming the doctors were part of my deception and that I'd somehow bribed them or threatened their licenses. She hired a private investigator who discovered that Janet's own daughter had died of leukemia at age 6, and she'd been fired from 2 previous jobs for stalking coworkers she believed were lying about family emergencies. The PI found journals where she'd written about exposing fake tragedies and protecting companies from manipulative employees, with detailed plans for investigating coworkers. HR terminated Janet immediately after learning she'd been conducting unauthorized surveillance of an employee's sick child. She was arrested outside our office building 3 days later.